Alright guys, welcome to the channel, and after a week of playing Fracture, I have some good information and a good review to present to you guys. So let's get into it. Hello guys, this is Seth again, and I've been playing Fracture for a couple days now. I actually was working on writing a review to the developers about my findings, everything that I found in the game, bugs, testing systems, testing city systems, everything that game offers right now on this fall alpha test, November 2020. And I would like to share with you just a couple of things that I found, a couple issues that I found, and discuss about how the game mechanics are implemented on this alpha test and how the game did, at least for me. For playing the game about a week, pretty hardcore. Like I put like a lot of hours every day. I think I played the game every day for at least summing all the hours that I played during the day because I was not playing straight. I was playing like maybe 2 hours and then another 4 hours and then a long session when I was streaming the game every day. A total of I would say 8 to 12 hours a day. So it's a lot of gameplay. Okay, so let's just start with my main character. I've built a melee DPS character, so we're gonna connect the game here, and I'm gonna go through some of the stuff that I found. The first stuff that I would like to talk about with you guys is how the builds work and how you can actually, wow, that was a sound really loud there. So how can you actually progress in the game? I explained some of the videos before. If you haven't seen it, go to my channel. You're gonna see two videos there, the basics and the exploration, where I discuss about importance of obtaining knowledge from the game and how you can use these knowledge points to then build your talent tree and also unlock your skills. This is the first character that I've created. This character has the stats using the profile that the game give to you as a gladiator, so I haven't changed anything there. I haven't optimized as I would like to, mainly because I didn't know exactly how it works, so I wanted to be starting fresh as any other character created by any other player that would just try the game out will do. So that will be kind of following the same path that any new player will actually choose when he comes to create a new gladiator or warrior or tank build in the game without knowing that he could actually change the status or the attributes at the start. So this is what you end with. So my character right now has about 3k health, 42 region for life, mana, 1,000 mana. This is the minimum. You can actually have less, but I would not suggest you to go that low. And a couple other things that are really important when you're creating your character. Okay, so number one is you're gonna need to learn the abilities. In order to learn the abilities, you have to kill monsters because more you kill the monsters, more knowledge you obtain from them, and there's a progression on the knowledge of the specific creature. And once you get to certain percentages or certain progression on killing the monster over and over again, you have a chance of obtaining or learning one of those skills that that creature was using. So I've collected all the skills here. I think I'm missing a couple skills still. I think three or so, maybe more. I'm not sure, but not many. And I've learned all the skills. Out of all the skills I've learned, I've locked some of the skills for testing out, which I shouldn't, because I figured out really soon that you could not use every skill in the game, and you will be locked out of some or certain skills according to two things. Number one, the weapons that you will be using, and number two, the armor that you will be using. Okay, so let's go to the character sheet here, and we're gonna see that I'm using heavy armor right now, but I was using leather at first. Heavy armor is everything that's made out of metal, and medium is everything that's made out of animal or any sort of hides. There's also a light armor, which is made from leather or anything that you can turn into cloth, let's say primal weave or cotton, um, or even if you turn like goo hides or goo skin into leather using the tanning tube, you can obtain a material that would then craft a light armor. And light armor is specifically made for mages, so any mage build. Which means that some of the skills that I took here, like this one, magic missiles, it says that requires to use weapons mage or unarmed and allowed armor light. What that translates into is that as soon as you equip a piece of armor that's not considered light armor, it will block that skill to be used. So that's number one. Just bear in mind that that's one thing. That's a thing in the game right now on this fall alpha, and that's fair because I don't think that building a character able to use every single skill in the game will be possible for the devs to balance it out. It'll be pretty OP, and then we're gonna get into a lot of meta builds, and these meta builds will then use specific skills that will turn them almost indestructible and immortals. So in order to not have that, they implemented this kind of limitations. So you can do a lot more damage as a mage, but it'll be squishier as well. Or you can do a lot less damage, but you're gonna take a lot less damage as well by using medium or then heavy armor. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is the talent tree. So I end up having 47 talents, and I still have some knowledge to get from monsters that I haven't kept out yet, which for me is basically the legendary monsters and the wisps. Those are the only monsters that I haven't collected all the knowledge from yet. Number one, it's because the wisps I cannot kill at all. There's a bug in the game right now that doesn't let me do any damage to the wisps. They're called incorporeal, or like they're not a real monster per se that I can hit by melee. They only can be hit by mage skills. Building a melee will not allow you to actually defeat that monster. They will dodge your skills, and it's impossible for a melee to do any damage to the wisps. But they put into the game an incorporeal mechanic, which is basically you could essentially craft a weapon that will be hitting these monsters. You will be doing damage to them, so it will be possible to kill them as a melee. But there's a bug in the game right now that doesn't allow you to do that. Those weapons will be the eel club or the silver sword or any kind of silver weapon that you could be able to craft through the blacksmith. Since there's this bug, it's impossible for me on my melee build to obtain knowledge from that creature specifically. But the rest of them, I obtained them all. And at the end of the day, what I got here was a lot of armor, a lot of elemental resistance. I got immunity to. I can choose to go immunity to poison, but then I was playing around about with my build to try to make a build that was PvE heavy into a build that was more focused on being able to PvP. And I've done some PvP with some other players that were kind enough to meet me in a town, and we went out of the town, of the protection of the town, and we did some PvP for testing. So my findings on the PvP were really interesting. Right now, melees will have sort of an advantage over mages because they will be able to build a lot of resistances, and these resistances will make them take a lot less damages from mages, which are at this moment um, kind of glass cannon per se, but they're really strong. For PvE, they're really good, but you have to do more movement. It's not like melee that you can stand still and keep like hitting the monster, taking the damage and absorbing everything through your armor and abilities and not abilities, your talents and stuff, and then kill them like taking a longer time to doing that. But mages will be like they will hit hard and they will be effective. Although if they let the creature to get to them, they will also take a lot of damage. So take that in consideration, and that should fit into your playstyle. My playstyle is more a melee class or build, and that's what I did. So one good thing about the talent tree here is that at any given moment I can remove talents here. So I can go to my presets, I can go to whatever preset I've made, so I can make multiple presets as well, so I don't have to make different ones. So I could just do one new here called PvE now and set this talent tree here to be specifically made for PvE fights. So I will go, let's see, do I want 20% armor? Yeah, I want more 20% armor. That'll be good. Do I want get this one, life regeneration? Yes, I want, but it's connected to the other tree, so I have to level that one as well. So let's get that. That opens up for this one. Gonna invest points there, max it out, and get more regen. Now, do I want blunt weapons to do stun? Not specifically not for this one. Do I want elemental resistance? Yes, I do. So, matter of fact, I got Constitution out of that. So start building your character around using the points that you've bought before, and that will allow you to create multiple presets. Then in order to change or swap to those presets, all you need to do is go back to a town or a house that has a fireplace, use the fireplace, and then memorize the preset you've created. Okay, so this is really, really, really good. Okay, now about the skills. So you're gonna press K here, you're gonna see the abilities. I call them skills, basically the same stuff. You can only take skills that will be made for your build. So take a look on the skill here, even the ones that you haven't unlocked, and read them. See if they can fit into your build for the kind of armor and weapons that you're trying to use or you're planning to use, and do not learn any other skills that will not be allowed for that specific build of yours. For instance, there's this skill here called Protection from Fire, and it gives me immunity to fire, but in order to use that, I should be using allowed weapons any, which means any weapon, and allowed armor any. So it means that it's flexible for any kind of build. But there are others like Totem of Wildfire that will be only made for weapon allowed mages or like mage staffs and stuff, and armor allowed is only light, which means that my heavy armor will not do the trick, and I will be locked out of using this ability, and I'll be burning out my points for nothing because my build is a melee build. Okay, so take a look on those, read them first, see what they do, and that's if that's something that you can actually put on your build and you think that will be useful, try it out. Even if you're gonna burn these points now because there's no refund system for unlearning the abilities yet, they might implement that later. You can try it out and just use some of your knowledge points to learn those skills and make them work for you, and maybe combine them into a really interesting and cool build that you like to play as it fits your style, okay? But there's one problem though. If you go to your presets and go to the ability preset, you're gonna have another thing called memory. Memory is tied into how many intelligence points you have into your character. And you start as that gladiator preset that you created your character before. If you haven't changed anything, you're gonna have intelligence 10. Intelligence 10 will give you 20 memory. It's basically 2 points of memory per point or attribute intelligence that you get on your build. And I found that for having the perfect melee build for my gameplay, for my play style, I would need 24 memory points, because the one skill that I would love to have here is Shockwave, which is an AoE skill used by melee builds and or medium and heavy or ranged, unarmed, any armor. So I could use that on any kind of build, but it's really cool because also does an stun, and the damage AoE is 360, so it's around your character. It's a really amazing skill, and it's especially good for PvP as well. So in order to use that, all these abilities here are the abilities that I'll be using for my PvP set, but along with these, I would like to use Shockwave as well. Okay, now let's go through the abilities I took for the PvP build. I took Frenzy, I took Shield Block, I took Concussive Strike, I took Eviscerate, which does a bleed, and I took another buff skill that's called Relentless Tile. What it does is, this Relentless Tile does that every single hit I do will always be the max damage of that skill using that weapon. It will always be the top damage that I can actually achieve with that setup. What Frenzy does is it gives me more dexterity. Therefore, I will be hitting faster, and it varies according to your constitution as well. So more constitution, you get more attack speed. Okay, so you're gonna be thinking, okay, should I then cap out dexterity instead of constitution? No, it's the opposite way. It's the other way around. As more constitution you have, because that's the attribute that's used as based in percentage, that will be applied to your actual dexterity as an effect of attack speed. Okay, and then I use shield block because obviously I will be doing PvP. I'll wear a shield and a mace or a shield of a sword for blocking. When I'm doing output damage, I'm gonna then switch to other weapons. Which weapons they are? They are basically a great sword, and I'm also using a spear because that will depend on the build. Some people will just use two-handed like Warhammer. Warhammers are kind of slow. They hit hard, but they do not hit as hard as the greatsword or the claymore. So what I do on PvP is I go in with my claymore. I put bleed on, and then I switch to my concussive. I apply one or two stacks, and then I switch to my shield right away and activate block. All that with my frenzy and relentless style up, so I can be rotating. Once they gonna use their bursting skill on me, I'm gonna be using my shield, possibly blocking because I have the shield block skill, and then I can just tab again, switch to my claymore, apply bleed again with my eviscerate, and apply concussive strike again after bleed goes on. So I have two debuffing and damage over time running on my opponent. And once I get one or two stacks again, one or two hits on my claymore, then I switch again to my shield and reactivate the block. And that goes on and on and on. And that's 1v1 if I am going against another tank build or of sorts. If I'm going against a mage, what I would do is I will make sure that I go to my talents here, equip everything that gives me magical resistance, and also make sure that I have immunity to poison. That will nullify their poison abilities, so I'll not take any DLT damage or damage over time damage. But then I will have to be careful about the magic damage. So on top of everything that I have on the elemental resistances here on the talent tree, I also enchant my gear to have magic resistance. So enchanting is another really cool feature of the game. You just go around, kill monsters, collect the reagents from the monsters, and then you go to an enchanting table and you apply those enchantments on your gear. There's a couple recipes that I've learned. A lot of tier 2 basically is the level of the enchantment. You have a tier 1 and a tier 2. Tier 1 is more basic and uses 1 point of enchanting, and every piece of gear will have up to 4 points of enchanting that you can put on. So let's say the necklace here or the trinket, it has 4 points of enchanting, which means that I can either even use 4 tier 1 enchantments, or I can use 2 tier 2 enchantments, or even 2 tier 1s and 1 tier 2 enchantments if I want to. So that allows for a lot of customization, and that means that you can build your character really as you want. Also, the limitation of obtaining these materials is not a thing because you can easily trade these reagents with other players or other citizens of your town, like this town that we've built here. I actually built this town, not this one. I built the other town there. I can switch to other character that's there. I built that town in about 2 days, 2 days and a half. dedicated to build a town. It was a lot of work, but once you get it done, then you have basically everything that you need. You're gonna have a blacksmith, you're gonna have a woodwork, you have a magic shop, you're gonna have a trading post, you're gonna have a tavern, and so forth. So once you have or a town or you are a citizen of one, you have access to all these stations or and crafting tables that then you can actually work on your build properly. Until you actually have access to those crafting stations that are only available on a town, and you must be a citizen or an owner of a town, then you're gonna have to deal with, if you don't have access to, of course, if you don't have the access to that, you're gonna have to deal with the primitive stuff. But the primitive stuff can be really good as well. The difference between using just the basic stuff that you can craft by using your V button or your craft menu and crafting out of the basic materials is that you're gonna have a bit less defensiveness. So you have less armor. You will not have the best weapons as the most damage dealing weapons in the game because you don't have the best weapons yet. But still, it's possible, viable, and totally doable as I did, and I didn't have any steel weapons or best weapons in the game, to kill every single monster in the game soloing it, as long as you build your character around that need, or you find that it'll be challenging for you to actually do that. It's possible to do. I know because I did it. I killed every single monster without any specific or special weapons or armor. It's harder, but doable. But then once you get access to these specialized weapons per se, or like heavy armor, and then steel weapons of such, then you're gonna improve on that build as well and make it a lot better. Okay, if we are planning on building characters for PvP or PvE, that's about your taste, that's about what you're going to choose to do, and will depend and vary a lot on also what other players from that citizen will be building on and working on as well. So if you're planning on coming to Fracture in the future releases, or even on this alpha that's running until the end of November, I would say that, or not sure it's end of November or early December, but we still have like 2 weeks to go or so. And today is November 19th. I won't say that try to join a group of players that are actually active, that are actually doing something in the game. You can try to play solo, but it'll be limited by a lot of things, and mostly for the best crafting stations. You will not have access to any of them other than the tailor shop, which you can go to any city and use that tailor shop. The tailor shop will be able to craft everything for yourself using hides that you get from animals, or to use any cloth material that you can actually go out and collect silk and stuff, or primal materials to craft your primal weave and stuff. That'll be the best set for mages. But you will not have access to make the best weapon for a mage because you're going to need a wood shop for that. And that's only accessible by citizens of a town. So there's a lot of things and systems that will wrap around the idea of being a citizen and work with your your friends or the group of friends or your guild that will run that city or town. It could be a small town, it could be a large town, and the idea is that everyone will be working together, sharing the activities or doing specific activities to work towards a common goal. And that's a really cool thing. We haven't seen so many, items out there that has this concept yet. At least I haven't. Playing a game like this brought me memories from other games that I played in the past, especially Ultima Online back in the 90s and early 2000s. Also brought me a lot of memories from games that who tried to mimic that experience. The last one that I played that was quite good as well was Legends of Arya. they've changed the game afterwards and it's different now. But at the beginning was really, really amazing. It was almost like I was playing Ultima Online with better graphics and better mechanics. And it was really, really fun. But this game, it's fun on in a different level. There's a certain thing to this game that brought me memories, but also brought me new experience. Remember, maybe if you played Ultima Online back in the day, you're gonna remember some of the stuff that you've done. Maybe some places that you visit, some dungeons that you did, some PvP that you had to do to get to these places, and all the friends that you've made all the way. And here you kind of get the same feeling, but the difference is that you didn't have special abilities in Ultima Online unless you were a mage. At least for melee, you didn't have many skills until you actually got chivalry and things like that. But on this game, right off the bat, you're gonna be working towards building your own character, specifically to fit your needs and the way that you like to play. It's not like the other games that you have to fit into a certain meta build in order to be viable. No, here you can play whatever you want. You can then, of course, choose skills that will be more focused on PvP, for instance, but most of the time you're going to be spending doing PvE, or going to be exploring. Maybe you're going to do blacksmithing, maybe you're going to do mining, maybe you're going to go through exploration, maybe you're going to do trading, maybe you do crop farming. That there's a lot of stuff that they built in this game for this test, and I love every single feature they put out. I'm gonna go to the other character now, and I'm gonna show you a mage that I built. This mage here, I started out building it on the previous videos, and this is an almost complete build for my mage. There are a few places that I haven't visited yet, but if you can remember, I didn't have many talent points. Now I have 38 talent points on this mage. I have a lot of things assigned and testing out here, and I also have a bunch of abilities that I've collected by farming monsters around the map of the game. And there's one thing that I've noticed which is a lot different from a mage aspect to a melee, is that you can have a lot of skills on a mage, a lot more skills in a mage, especially because remember that memory that I mentioned earlier? Well, you're gonna have a lot more memory because you have a lot more intelligence, which means that you can potentially learn a whole lot of skills, a whole lot of abilities. But then you're gonna be limited by the amount that you can actually equip at your hotbar. So it doesn't help that you're gonna get like 12 abilities learned and unlocked because you will not be able to use them. Different than melee that you actually need only maybe 7, 8 skills or so, mages can actually make use of 10, 12 skills at times, especially because they can have multiple healing skills, they can have multiple buff skills for groups, and having this, huge amount of skills available to you and not being able to use them, even if you can actually learn them and you would love to use them, you cannot do that because there's no, enough shortcuts in the hotbar right now to use them. Also, there's a couple other things that'll be amazing to have in a specific, like an addition of a second hotbar. It'll be customizing the keys that you want to use because on this fall test, it's not there yet. They didn't release that feature yet. Of course, that'll be in the game. It's just not here now. Okay. Does it make the game not be that great? No, it doesn't. It actually created another level of difficulty that you have to adapt to. It is optimal. Is it a good thing? No, in my opinion, no, it's not optimal. Is that a good thing? No, it's not, because you give a lot of diversity to the players, but then the players cannot make use of it. But that's fine. It's just a test, an alpha test. The work that I did on this release was really impressive and amazing. So I'm just gonna go through the town here before we go back to the skills and stuff. I'm gonna show you the town. So one thing that I've learned about towns is that you have to prioritize what you're gonna build first. Of course, there are a couple things that are going to be building right off the bat once you bought a town. That first is the town hall. This is the one thing that you need to have completed, because here is where you're going to actually do your upkeep. You're going to pay the taxes to the server to keep your city. And if you don't do that, after 3 days of not paying the upkeep taxes, your city will be then destroyed and it will return to ruins as you found the city once you bought it. So it's important. So make the town hall. The other thing is that citizens can apply. New citizens can apply to your city, and you can go to requests and accept them if you want. You can remove them from the city, and without a town hall, you will not be able to get anyone into your city nor leave the city, because you will not have this table here that actually lets you leave the city if you want. Okay. You can also set like a notice board for people to read what your city is about and stuff. It's more social stuff. And then the second thing that I will suggest you to do right out of the bat, you're gonna build your town. The second thing that I suggest you to do is do your crop farming. So go out, choose a place at the edge of your town that you will not be using to build anything, and put a lot of this what do you call? They are called farming plot. Yep, put a lot of farming plots out. And what you're gonna do right out of the bat as well, you're gonna plant either rice or wheat on them. Wheat will take 6 days to grow, and rice will take only two. And why I'm saying that is because you're gonna be growing the rank of your town, and as higher as you get, more you have to pay on upkeep taxes. And there on rank 4, you start paying cereal. And cereal is something that you do not obtain out of the wild so easily. So you're gonna need to grow it. You're gonna need to grow rice, you're gonna need to grow wheat. And this is the wheat that I planted a couple days ago. It's good to go, it's 93%. I started planting it 2 or 3 days after I built the town because I didn't know better. So it's only getting ready now. And if I harvest now, I'm gonna have a deduction because it's not 100%. And there's some status here like irrigation that you have to keep an eye on. Do not let it go down the minimum here that's marked, because then the health of your crops will go down. You're gonna, get less of your crops as well later. So what it takes is just go around and click and water them. One good thing about the farming plots is that you don't need any sort of seed. All you need is to put the farming plot down and select what kind of cropping you want to do. That's all it takes. And then maybe if you are planting rice, which has a really high requirement for irrigation, you're gonna have to go to that farming plot and irrigate that, or just pour water as I'm doing right here, maybe twice a day. So these plots here are actually plots that are rotating between beans, which are considered meat or protein, and cereal. These ones here are rice. These are the second rotation. I had beans here before, and as you can see, I have 50%. So current health is 0. So I have to keep them water. I have to keep them 80% or more on here, otherwise my crops will die. So make sure to do that. If you plant rice, water your farm plots twice a day. So maybe early in the morning and then before you go to bed. If you do that, will be enough to keep it healthy, happy, and get the most of it once it's ready to be harvested. Okay, that's all you need to do. In this system of farming and crops is really well done as well. My only concern is that the amount of cereal that a city will need in order to keep up. So I'm sure that it will be adjusting these values, but I'm gonna show you the rankings right now. I'm gonna go to rank 4. At rank 4, I'm gonna need 8 cereal, and then automatically after obtaining rank 4, the very next day, I'll have to pay the rank 5, which is 12 sacks of cereal. Once I pay that, then I'm gonna have to pay the sixth one and so forth. So the amount is increasingly higher. You can see that here. And you're gonna get to a point that if you don't do trading with other town to obtain your cereal, you will not be able to keep up, and you're gonna be on debt on that. You're gonna have to until you pay the debt, you're gonna be start losing your rankings every day until the point you reach zero and you didn't pay that upkeep for 3 days straight. You go below zero and your town is destroyed. So the mechanics of trading come into play here. So you're gonna have something, you must have something to trade with other towns, which is really interesting, and that's a sandbox feature in a player-driven economy game. So you're gonna have to buy cereal from other towns that maybe don't have a mine, maybe they have a fertile ground, or maybe they stockpiled a bunch they don't need at that given moment. So you can buy from them using gold coins or trading with some material that you actually have. That's really clever. That's really interesting on this game, and I haven't seen any other game doing that. At least not as my experience in other games until I came across Fracture. Okay, so that's the second thing that you're gonna build for the town. What's the third thing? Well, bank is totally optional. Bank, I rarely see anyone using, and if you have a group of players that are really tight together, you don't need really use personal banks. You just start everything in town, and everybody can use whatever they need. So the third thing to build is actually the tailor shop. Why the tailor shop? Because you might need specific things such as leather, or maybe throw leather, or maybe something else that you're going to produce here based on converting the hides into leather. And this is not a difficult building to do, but it should be your third option as well. Right after that, consider also building the tavern. Okay, you could either go tavern and then tailor shop or whatever. And then after you build the tavern, then you should build the wood shop. The wood shop will be really important for many reasons. Number one is because it provide you with shields that your melee builds will use, and also gonna provide you with pieces of weapons, like you'll produce the materials required to produce the mage staff for your mages. After you're done with your wood shop, then the last one you want to do is the magic shop. For the magic shop, you're gonna have a lot of stone that you're gonna be going through to actually build this thing. It has a lot of work, but it does worth a lot because then your mages will be able to craft the best staffs in the game. So the best staves in the game are made here. So you're gonna need that shaft that you craft on the woodworks or the wood shop, and some flawless um, gems. So you go ruby, you go diamond, you go sapphire, or you go topaz. These gems are obtainable by mining or killing creatures. Creatures also will drop them. So if you don't have a mine, you can trade with other players, or you can just kill like shamans and other monsters, like you'd kill like elementals. They all drop these gems. They're a random drop, a rare drop, but they do drop them. I collect most of mine out of farming at the valley, at Veil of Shadows here. Veil of Shadows farming the shamans out here. I've got a bunch of gems out of them. Okay, there's also a few big spiders on this place here. This is one of the biggest and the strongest dungeons to go, the most difficult ones to go. I call them dungeons, but the game calls them hotspots. It's a grinding place. So make sure that you have more people with you if you don't have much gear, or if you were courageous enough as I was, and I came here farming here without even having a single piece of steel weapons or armor, you can do it. You just have to be more careful about it. Now, exploration. I explained exploration in another video, but it's a really good thing to do for many, many reasons. But one of the main reasons is to obtain the knowledge by just exploring, just by going around. Another reason is to do trading. You actually can go in-game and check the name of the towns and see what they have. So I know that this place here has copper mine, the other place down there has coal, the other place right there has copper and gold, the other place right there has a silver mine. So if I'm looking for these resources, I can quick look, press M to open up my map, look which city has what, and then try to talk to them to trade for the materials I have, or just straight buy from them using gold coins. But then talking about gold coins, there's not much stuff that you can do with gold coins right now, other than paying your upkeep, which is very little if you want a town. Second thing was to buy a house, which is 1,000 gold, and you can buy only one. The third thing will be buying a small town. It's 5,000 gold, and you're only gonna do that once because you can only own one town per account. As a house, you can own a house and a town, but you cannot own two houses or two towns. And if you go for a big town like this one, which is a large city, a large city will run you down 20k gold coins, and that's a lot. But then there's a couple interesting big towns. On this test, when I start looking for a town to buy, 99.9% of them were gone. So I was lucky enough to actually find a place that had a mine, and it was a tin mine. The issue that I found on this mine, it's not actually tin, it's mostly iron. But that was a good thing because iron is right now is the best material, since the process of converting ore into ingots is not fully implemented. So in order to do that, you're gonna need these tools here. They are smelters, and these smelters will take fuel and ore, and after you fill these things here, then you click smelt, and you take 4 hours to go through that process. The final product will be then ingots like these, and every piece of gear will take a certain amount of ingots to be crafted, and some other materials possibly. So if I go to my forge, I can go to like heavy weapons and make a claymore. What a claymore requires is 4 ingots. Remember, it's 4 hours to make one ingot. There's a smeltery called Advanced that produces 2 each 4 hours, but to take twice as many ore using the same amount of coal that the basic one does. But then you're gonna have to have 2 of those advanced to just make one claymore, right? So going through the math of how many hours you will need to actually gear up your entire city and all the builds and all the characters that your city will have, it is just, I just came across something that didn't match well, because having a lot of melee or being melee heavy on the game right now doesn't really make sense. An example of that is that you're gonna go through the experience of playing the game, you're gonna notice that there's one thing called durability. So if I look at durability of my gear here, it's 94%. For a mage, you're gonna run through your gear a lot slower. But for a melee, you're gonna run through and break your gear way more often. And you're gonna have to replace the piece of gear because there's no repairing in the game right now. There's not such mechanic yet. So as right now, it doesn't actually not that doesn't work, it doesn't work properly to go like melee heavy on this build, on this fall test, because you will not be able to produce enough ingots to be replacing your gear over and over and over. For my look, the town that I've built and I put some friends on, my town, they are all mages. I'm the only melee on my town. That's why I have a stockpile of ingots because there's no one else using it. Another reason why I didn't run out of these is because I start building my mage. So I stop on breaking my gear and having to replace my gear. Also, notice that the durability of a steel or heavy armor and steel weapons was comparable to the primitive ones, but doing a lot more damage. But that didn't make sense that the durability was not increased in a rate that it should be because it's really hard to obtain ingots right now. It didn't make sense to just be going through all these weapons and armor because I will get to a point that I will not be able to replace them as often. As well as there's so much stuff that you can do for this test as well. The test is huge, the map is huge, but you're gonna get to a point that you're gonna have everything. And there's no PvP in the game right now, so you'll not lose your gear either. So you're gonna end up breaking your gear going through the PvP battles and stuff. Okay, but that's an issue that is easily countered by having any sort of repairing or something that they will implement in the future, or having the durability percentages adjust on how your gear will take damage by being a melee compared how it takes damage by being a mage. Now about the knowledge, right? So on resources, you have a lot of resources to get to find a lot of plants and trees and everything. Once you click them on once and cut them down or collect the branches from them, you're gonna learn the knowledge of that and you're done with that one. You're gonna still be collecting a lot of wood to building stuff, but after you build your town and stuff, you're gonna be focused more on keeping up with the town. And one thing that I've noticed so far is that it's way more work to build the town than actually keeping it. And I'm saying that because you can keep your town fairly easily. You don't have to do much to keep a town right now. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing that you don't spend much resources or anything to keep your town. But once PvP hits, and it will be possible for other guilds and other cities to try to take over your city, then I might be changing my mind. But until that point, I think that's really easy to keep up with the town. It's not a problem. And that's a really good thing as well. If I want to go in a vacation and be like a week off and I'll not be visiting my city and I'll be running on like a lot of materials to just upkeep, I can just deposit more on the upkeep rates and just it'll be auto charging every day. But as long as I have a big stock of things on my town hall, like I have right now, I have a lot of cereal, I have meat that I have to actually put more there, and I have a lot of gold. I will have a cushion of time that I don't have to deal with it. Also, it's possible to just downgrade the ranking of your town up to 0 and then you catch up afterwards. So you'll not be losing your town for this fall alpha for now, at least up to date, which is 19th of November. Okay, and well, those are the main things that I've noticed so far. The rate of obtaining materials such as ore is 6 hours. So every 6 hours you can go through your mine, and every single mine will give roughly 60 or 70 raw ore of iron per se, or silver or gold, and about the same amount or up to twice that amount in stone blocks. That'll be used for you to build your town. And if you're done with that, you don't need anymore, just either don't mine them anymore, or you trade those blocks with someone who need it for something that you wanted. But the mine will have a rotation of 6 hours. the way that the response work at the mine is every 2 hours you have a 30% chance to spawn a node. Past 2 hours past that, you have another 35%, and on the 6 hours mark, everything will be spawning 100%. So I'll just say every 6 hours you can harvest your mine. But remember that I told you that you have a smelter that will use 4 hours to process the ingot. Well, it means that you will not be able to keep up of your smelters 24/7 if you want to, because you'll not have material for that. You're gonna run out of material, which leads into trading. Trading is amazing. It's really good. I made a video about it. It's on my channel, so I will put a link just on the description for this one for you to look. And what I talk about trading and how trading works and how cool is the idea. The only problem I found is it takes a long time for you to cross the map because you go slow. So if I go with my horse, mounting on horse, this is the speed I go in the road. It's not that fast, but it's not slow at all. So now I'm gonna connect my horse to a cart or a wagon, and I'm gonna show you the speed on road. This is the speed you can go on the road. It's a lot slower. So in perspective, how much time it will take for me to go from my town to a town that is actually trading coal. I'm offering iron and I'm getting coal back. So if I take iron from my place, go there, it'll be 23 minutes, counting the clock. And then I will take my load of iron down there, deliver that. I'm gonna buy coal from them and bring back. It's another 23 minutes. So there we go. You have like almost, well, a bit less than 15 minutes to be a whole hour just doing that process. And there's no auto path yet, which means that you either hold your left mouse button or your macro something or do an auto hotkey to hold the mouse button down for you to not be, having to hold your mouse button down for that amount of time. I didn't know that at the beginning, and it actually can be really hurtful. I actually hurt my wrist because I didn't know that on the first 2 days, believe it or not. I didn't know that I could macro it or I could make any like a auto hotkey function to work as holding the left mouse button. And that could be a really heavy downside for most, but be aware that you can actually use auto hotkey to solve that issue until they actually make an auto run feature into the game. I feel that also that they didn't expect that the players will love the game so much and will play for hours and hours and hours and will be so excited about what they have to show to us. I really believe that they didn't expect that huge success, and because of that, these small things didn't go through a pass before getting into the game, and that's why these features are not in the game. And I'm assuming that on the next one they will have a lot of considerations and feedback that people are providing for them for playing the game for a week or even more, as I did. I wrote a full review of the game. This review is in English as well, and it has 16 pages. On this review, I write about my experience on the game, every single system that I've tested, every single bug that I found, every single feature that could have some sort of a change on it, some skill bugs that I found, some game-breaking features. There are not many, but I found a few. And I made some comments on the features that I tested, such as economically speaking, how the trading will do, how the rates of obtaining resources, and how is the rate of producing or turning it into material that you can produce weapons and armor, and how durability will affect that. I wrote a whole article about it. for the developers, and I hope they read it, and I hope they improve on that. I'm pretty sure they will have really a lot of information, a lot of feedback about the game given by players who are really in, like me, who really wants this game to thrive and this game to come out in other side really polished, and there'll be a lot of fun to play this sort of game. Maybe you watching this video now will also consider playing this game after seeing the video or after seeing other videos of gameplay and such. But I would suggest you to test it out if you can. It's not a game that will be fully released until 2021 at least. On their first schedule or roadmap release, they mentioned that it will be the third quarter of 2021. But I think that might be pushed back a little bit. I really think that there's a lot of features that will be developing. It maybe will be really, really a lot of work for them to finish up to that point, since we are at the end of the year of 2020, so they will have only 9 months more to finish the entirety of the rest of the game, including the other two maps that they want to release. This is just the human map that they released this time. Previously, on the tests before, which I didn't take part of, I talked to the other players and they mentioned that the map was different, and also there were many limitations on everything you could do. On this game felt like a complete game in a sort. Uh, but then once you get to the quote unquote end game, you're gonna face these issues, and it's just not viable to keep bigger groups of players in the game having or wearing heavy armor right now without some adjustments to the durability and the rate of production, and obtain how often you can obtain the materials, the raw materials you're gonna need to craft the best stuff. Also, the trading is a problem right now because there's not many people playing the game no more. After a week and a half of testing, some people who started testing the game also left the game or just took a break from it, because of course it's a brand new game. You're starting out, everything is starting from scratch, so there's a lot of work. And as I mentioned, it took me 2 days to build just the basics of my town. It took me three days, or almost 3 full days, to finish building my own town because I did it solo. It's not a game for playing solo. If you think that you should be coming to the game and play it alone, it's not that. This game is definitely not that. You're gonna have friends. You're gonna have a group of people. Gonna have a guild or something. Even more because this game is full loot, which means that if you engage in PvP in the future and you die to another player, you're gonna lose your gear. You're gonna have to replenish that. And if you are a heavy armor and heavy weapon user as a melee build, that will be costly. So running solo might not be an option in certain maps, certain areas of the game. And keeping up with a city and then defending your town against raiders or attacking other town will also take a lot of planning. And I'm assuming that'll be taking a lot of politics as well. So we might be seeing a lot of politics going on in this game as well, between alliances and clashing against each other, friends or friend towns that will no longer be friends because of fighting the fight for resources, because of trading agreements be broken, because someone forgot to deliver a certain amount of carts of coal to another city and they ran out of coal to produce their iron or something, and then they end up losing to their enemy city because of that. There's a lot of politics, a lot of economics that this game will go through. And I'm eager to see what is next, what is in the future, and what the developers will do in order to try to not to prevent anything, but in order to allow and provide an environment, a game, a world that players can do as much as they actually can in order to try to keep up every day and to be not necessarily ahead, but to be ready for when a raider team comes. I'm also curious to know how the PvP will work as far as sieges go. So we know that in the future they might plan a raid, so somebody could raid your town. I would like to see how that mechanic will work. I also would love to see how the siege mechanic will work, because if we think that like other games like Rust, for instance, is a total different game, but in Rust you build your base and stuff, and it's 24 hours. If you go to sleep and you have nobody to protect your base, someone could go there by themselves, explode your doors, get in, and raid your items because he did that in a time that you were sleeping. On this game, such as not a solo game, it's a community game. How will that work? Will that be like sieges that will be scheduled in time, that'll be 24/7? Can it be like taking advantage by others, knowing that this town is ran by people who live in Italy, and there will be like a holiday in Italy that most people will be traveling and such, and that town will not be protected during like 2 days. So they will do their siege on those 2 days, knowing that that city will not be that have people there to defend them, and also how the politics will work in order to try to hire people that can defend their town, how that mechanic will work. There's a lot of things that I'm curious to know about, and I'm eager to see what will be the next from the developers on this game. So this video is quite long enough already. There's a lot more to go through about my review, but as you can see, like I tested out a lot of stuff in the game. I really enjoy the game, and my conclusion for Fracture right now, as it is on this fall alpha, is that number one, the developers did a really good job. The game is amazing. It feels really good. It plays well. It's fun to play, and you can do PvP as an option. It's not mandatory. So you can focus on developing and testing this stuff for next versions that will come. There will be more systems to test as well. The mechanic of trading, and specifically the trading post they implemented, is amazing. It's really, really good. The mechanic of keeping up and paying taxes every day just to keep your city to not be demolished is also really good. And the PvE mechanics worked really, really well. There's some adjustments to the AI, but it's expected. But the skills also work very well. They're really well balanced in my opinion. Compared to other games that I played, this really works well. So good job, Dynamight Studios. It was an amazing experience. I love testing this game and reviewing it. I had a lot of fun. And well, right now I think the only thing that, you know, I have to do is just wait for the next patch to hit. It they're gonna release something on still on this test. Maybe there will be more stuff to test, more things to figure out, and we're gonna go from there. But for now, that's it. Thank you guys for watching this review, and I hope to see you guys in game soon. Thank you guys, and have a good one. I'll see you on the next one.